So the Boruto story guide was released not too long ago, and in that story guide we ended up getting some cool information about the Boruto story. Most of it was to help new upcoming readers that found out about Two Blue Vortex and wanted to catch up on what happened previously in Boruto Next Generation. But although this is the target demographic, we still end up receiving some good information that us who have read Boruto 2 Blue Vortex and Boruto Next Generation would find to be quite valuable. And in this video, we're going to be discussing just that. The main focus is going to be on karma related information that we end up getting. I'll make another video concerning a bit of Otsutsuki lore and confirmations that we do end up getting, but in this video specifically, we will be focusing on karma information. So when it comes to the karma, there is some key information that was revealed, and I wouldn't say revealed is the best way to put it. I would say confirmed. Some speculations that we had about the karma that have been confirmed to be true. And the first thing that we have to discuss is Boruto. We all know that Boruto, compared to Kawaki, he has not really shown some of the same abilities that Kawaki has. Kawaki is able to use the Sukuna Hikonen, he's able to use the Daiko Koden, he has all of Ishiki's abilities to be utilized. While with Boruto, we always felt like Boruto got the short end of the stick as he never really showcased any of those abilities. So concerning that, we have this piece of information. It reads, the karma is a compressed file into which the Otsutsuki is able to duplicate, digitalize, and input themselves into someone else. The one unto whom the karma is carved into becomes the vessel. In order to protect the lives of their vessel, the Otsutsuki imparts an abundance of battle experience, as well as all the abilities the Otsutsuki themselves had onto their target. By using the karma, Boruto is able to activate Momoshiki's powers that allow him to absorb jutsu and fire it back. And this is what is being revealed here, confirming that yes, Boruto has access to Momoshiki's abilities, just like a Kawaki has access to Ishiki's abilities. And what is quite intriguing is that they actually name one, which means that out of all the vast abilities that Momoshiki has and has showcased in the past, one confirmation is true is that we will be in fact seeing this Momoshiki ability to fire back various abilities that he absorbs with much more power than the user first had. And this is very important when it comes to Boruto's fighting style. But the first thing we have to discuss is when exactly does this take place? When exactly did Boruto acquire this ability? As by understanding that, we can come to figure out why we haven't really seen Boruto use these abilities in the past and why we're most likely going to be seeing it very soon. So from my personal sense, I would say that Boruto had these abilities on lock, these abilities to be used when he ended up being resurrected. It is definitely true that we have seen Boruto showcase the fact that he can tap into Momoshiki's powers, he's able to tap into Momoshiki's battle experience, and is also able to tap into Momoshiki's Byakugan. But when he ends up using the Byakugan per se, and when we compare it to when he uses the Byakugan now, it doesn't seem the same. We don't really see him utilize the Byakugan like he did in this most upcoming arc, where we see Boruto actually see through things. Maybe you could say there wasn't much to see through, but I would beg to differ due to the simple fact that there are various trees and different things around. But the way I would come to understand this point is that when Boruto first activated those abilities of Momoshiki, when he tapped into True Essence Karma, he didn't fully come to understand what exactly he could do. It was his first time using True Essence Karma, and thus, of course, he's not going to have this excellent mastery of all those abilities. So, from what is being showcased after the arc, we do end up seeing that Boruto says something very important. And even way back, I believe that this was the moment where we could truly say that Boruto had mastery of Momoshiki's abilities, or at least could utilize them. Maybe with more time and experience, he would become even better as we see him now. But When Boruto ends up coming back to life, we do end up seeing that Boruto says something important, and he says that he now feels like he is better able to channel Momoshiki's powers, which means that in the past, maybe he was using True Essence Karma, but he didn't feel as if he was able to channel Momoshiki's powers better, and we don't end up seeing Boruto take the pills any longer, which would explain why maybe there was a bit of trouble for Boruto to channel Momoshiki's powers because of those pills. So I think from that moment forward, we could say that Boruto had access to Momoshiki's abilities and all those various powers that Momoshiki has. And just like this text ends up mentioning, Boruto has access to the power that allows him to absorb jutsu and fire it back. Why don't we see Boruto use it after the moment that he says that he feels like he's able to channel Momoshiki's powers? I feel like one is due to the simple fact that the fight between Kawaki and him was cut short, which would have then demonstrated the fact that he could utilize those abilities. We see that at that time in the past, Kakashi ended up telling us that Boruto's chakra reserves was not the best, to the point where Kakashi said that he would never be able to use the Adama Rasengan. But after the moment where Boruto tells us that he feels like he can channel Momoshiki's power better, it is at that point that we finally get to see Boruto use the Adama Rasengan, which he's able to use even now. This tells us that it is at that precise moment that Boruto unlocked those abilities. But this also tells us something quite interesting, and it basically tells us that we will never end up seeing Boruto have Momoshiki's Rinnegan as an accessory that we get to see, as those abilities that were stored within Momoshiki are only going to be expressed through the karma. And this is something that I always question, due to the simple fact that yes, I always believed that Boruto would be able to get this ability. However, I didn't really know how it'd feel if Boruto was to utilize this ability while using an actual Rinnegan in his hand. I felt like it didn't really fit his personal aura, and especially if he's a swordsman, by having an eye on his hand when he ends up using a sword, I always felt like it would end up being kind of weird. So for him to have the karma and for him to simply be utilizing that as a vehicle to express Momoshiki's abilities, I feel like that's the best way Ikemoto could have written this, and maybe has been one of the reasons why we haven't really seen this, as it is something that he wanted to figure out completely after having Boruto's design and fighting style be fully detailed in the time skip. So when it comes to Boruto, we did end up seeing that he wears gloves, which has been a hint that he could tap into similar abilities like Momoshiki, as Momoshiki also wears gloves, but to see it finally be confirmed is something that is definitely going to be letting us know what we could see next. As by having this ability, Boruto, who struggled a little bit with some of Jira's Bijudamas that definitely played a part in the way the battle went, it is definitely perfect for Boruto to have such an ability. We can see Boruto absorb it and make Jira maybe think twice before using those Bijudamas. In the past, with our current knowledge of the karma and Boruto's karma specifically, we could only predict that Boruto is only able to absorb it, as that's what the karma is able to do. But by knowing that he has this ability of being able to absorb it and fire it back, if Jira ends up firing a Bijudama his way, Boruto is simply going to be able to fire it back at him, and at that point, it changes the way Jira ends up utilizing that. And some of Jira's sniping abilities and his various different forms of Bijudama could be countered by simply having this and it being able to be fired back to Jira. This could be something that Boruto keeps to himself and doesn't let anybody know, which may be one of the reasons why we don't see Boruto use it in this arc when he uses the karma, as it is something that he's specifically keeping to himself to be used in the best moments. Deception is a very big part in being a shinobi, and that would make quite a bit of sense. Another potential reason why we haven't seen Boruto use this ability quite yet is due to the simple fact that in this arc they were fighting in the village. Boruto absorbed Momoshiki's fire due to the simple fact that it was going to burn down the village. Even Momoshiki didn't want that to happen, but due to him becoming lower in IQ, he made a couple mistakes. So Boruto at that moment, he absorbed the fire and didn't fire it back because there was no point in doing so. It would damage the village if he did so. This lets me know that when Boruto ends up using this ability, we're not going to have this fight be in the village. or if we do, the village is already going to be destroyed. But by us having this simple ability that is being expressed here, it means that Boruto also has an ability that is linked to Momoshiki's Rinnegan, which can also be expressed through the karma. When we see Momoshiki first pop in the Boruto world, we see that the first thing that he ends up doing is go and fight versus Killer Bee. In that fight, we come to learn about Momoshiki's ability to absorb things and then fire it back with double the power. But that's not the only thing that we end up learning. What we also end up learning is the fact that he can absorb chakra, maybe Tail Beast chakra, or if it was just Killer Beast chakra. But since he is a Jinchuriki and what he was looking for was the powers of the Tail Beast at that moment, which is why he ended up targeting Naruto, it makes me believe that it is Tail Beast chakra that he ended up absorbing. He ended up absorbing that Tail Beast chakra, and we end up seeing him turn it into chakra pills. I believe that this is incredibly important, as we could see it being expressed in various ways. Maybe this could be one of the counters to Jura, as Jura is a Tail Beast. I don't know what route they could go, but one simple one could be to potentially weaken Jura, seal him in some way, and absorb some of his Tail Beast chakra that he has due to being the incarnation of the Ten Tails. By doing so, they may be able to defeat Jura in that simple way. But you could easily argue that it wouldn't necessarily be in Boruto's character. Boruto could potentially use it to end up defeating Jura, but do we really see Boruto who ends up eating the chakra pill? But a person who would definitely go with that route and could be scheming of doing so this entire time is Momoshiki. Momoshiki seems very confident that he will be able to beat Kawaki, as he has seen through Boruto's plan. Boruto's plan is quite simple: to fight against Jura, defeat him, and then give over his body to Momoshiki and then have Kawaki kill him. Momoshiki has also read through that plan, due to the simple fact that Boruto and his mind are linked, so there's not really any secrets that can be held. This is quite important. Momoshiki's simple plan could be to get stronger in this fight, utilizing the chakra pills that he could potentially turn Jura, due to the fact that he has 10 Tails chakra, or at least Tail Beast chakra, to end up growing stronger, turning Jura into a tool that allows him to become so strong where Kawaki seems like nothing, somebody who he could easily destroy, making Boruto's bet end up crumbling. So there is definitely a lot of information that could be seen, and I definitely want you guys to let me know in the comment section below, what abilities would you like to be seen? You guys have heard a lot of the abilities that I like, and I'm curious to see what you like. But this is not the only piece of information that we end up getting, as there's more. Concerning this page, we end up learning about the Otsutsuki data pool. And it says, the genetic information and chakra of the Otsutsuki is gradually decompressed in the body of the vessel. The more vast the Otsutsuki's power, the longer the amount of time it will take to decompress. When the decompression stage is finished, the vessel's body is rewritten with the Otsutsuki's data, and the previous existence will be depleted. In Kawaki's case, a vessel that hasn't finished fully decompressing will be unable to revive. But one thing that is very important, and is one of the things that we have discussed, maybe as some people would like to say a plot hole because they don't understand what took place, but with this explanation, it makes quite a bit of sense why Boruto's extraction seemed to be quite faster of that Kawaki who got it earlier on. There are multiple factors that came to be, but this simply confirms the fact that Ishiki is stronger than Momoshiki. I hope nobody had that in the mind that Momoshiki was stronger, but we do end up also learning that a person can upgrade himself using the vessel as a upgrade without the chakra fruits. So because you are updating yourself on another person's body, and since Boruto in this case he has Otsutsuki DNA and Momoshiki ended up pointing out, due to his body being strong, Momoshiki also gains more powers due to that body of his being strong. So although it isn't as big as an upgrade as a chakra fruit, it is still an upgrade in and of itself. But what really is important is the fact that the more powerful an Otsutsuki is, the longer it will take for that to decompress. Ishiki may be in his hubris by looking at the simple fact that, oh, it's taking quite a bit of time for Kawaki to decompress my power. It just simply means that I'm a god. It just simply proves that I'm just that guy. I just have too much power. So it makes quite a bit of sense, which is what allowed Amato's ploy to be quite valuable and why it ended up working. The actual reason why that was the case and why it ended up taking that long is also because of the power that Ishiki had, but let's not forget that Amato did end up giving Kawaki pills to suppress that extraction time to buy him time. And we also have to factor in one of the reasons why Boruto's advancement and extraction was quite fast is due to the simple fact of the resonance between Boruto and Kawaki, and the book guide doesn't really explain it, but I hope that this is maybe touched upon in chapters to come, or maybe when an actual data book is released concerning simple abilities and explaining all of them, we may get this information. But this is what we get concerning the karma, some good information that finally proves that Boruto has access to Momoshiki's powers and also Kinshiki, because they are all combined in that karma decompression file that Boruto has undergone. So if you want to personally find out what abilities I would expect Boruto to be able to utilize, watch this video right here.